the MD of Prime Database, now joins in to talk about what the statistics look like for FY25. Pranav, hi, welcome to the show. Thanks very much for joining in. Well, it's a record year. 76 Indian companies raised almost 62,000 crores in FY24 via IPOs. Do you think FY25 is probably going to see this continued momentum?
Well, thank you for having me. I think if the pipeline is anything to go by, I think you should see another stellar year for the primary market in 24-25. I think there is some near-term risk on account of the general elections, which will get underway soon. But just looking at the pipeline, of companies which have already filed with SEBI for approval, you have 19 companies looking to raise close to 25,000 crores. Another 40 odd companies looking to raise 50,000 crores, which have applied, to SEBI for approval. You've seen a pickup in filings in the month of March. You had 12 companies filing their offer document. So, the pipeline is steadily building. I think some of the issuers and bankers are waiting for the elections to be out of the way before the issues are launched. But, unless the elections throw up a surprise verdict, I do expect that the secondary market will continue to rally. And as you've seen in the past, primary market activity always follows the secondary market. So you should see some of these, issues coming to the market. And this includes some very large issues as well. So I think 24-25 looks very exciting.
It does look exciting, and some of the stats, though, however, are telling. Even if we raised more than 70,000 crores, Pranav, nice to meet you. Just 20,000 plus crores have been fresh issues. So it's not that a lot of this money is going into the companies that are looking to raise funds. The remainder is actually an exit. So how are those funds deployed is the big question. And secondly, the kind of demand that is there for the IPOs, more than 22 of them, again, were subscribed more than 30 times. What phase of this IPO rush are we in right now with your experience? Last year was strong. Is the next year expected to be stronger? How long before it really, fizzles out, so to say?
Okay, so let me take all these questions one by one. So, in terms of fresh capital, you have seen in 23-24, it's at a 7-year high. If you look at the last few years, OFS component has been close to 80 odd percent, which, last year went down to 50%. So which shows that, companies are coming to the IPO market, raising fresh capital to reduce their debt, or for, expansion, which is definitely a positive signal. With regards to the second aspect, as far as the OFS component is concerned, where, you said that money is going into the pocket. I think this is a sign of an extremely, maturing capital market ecosystem. I still remember in the 90s and early 2000s, you had a lot of companies coming to the IPO market purely for raising fresh capital. And they really didn't have any business up and running at that point in time. So, of course, there was a huge amount of risk associated with it. And you did see, investors losing tremendous amount of money on account of that. Now, the kind of companies that you're seeing coming to the IPO market are far more mature. You've seen multiple rounds of angel investment, venture capital investment, private equity investment, which has already happened, which also shows that, a lot of due diligence has happened. There are certain governance standards which have, been reached. The companies, of course, reached a certain scale and size. So I think these are, positive signs. And we have to realize that, these investors also need an exit. And these investors need to provide capital back to their own investors, which would then free up some capital for them to invest in the next set of companies. So I think, and if you look at developed markets as well, in US or Europe, this is how, the IPO market really works. So I think there is nothing negative about this. I think there's a lot of negative commentary, which is usually given that this is a pure OFS IPO, so stay away from it. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong in investing in pure OFS IPOs for the reasons which I mentioned. Finally, as far as the demand aspect is concerned, I think the kind of flows that you're seeing, there used to be a time where, IPOs, foreign investors used to play a predominant role in how an IPO would do. That is something which has really changed over the last few years. And domestic institutional investors, especially mutual funds, and with the kind of monies which are coming in on a month-on-month basis, whether through SIPs, just overall AUMs that you've seen of mutual funds expanding, I think that bodes extremely well as well. And all things considered, I would expect in that trend to continue in 24-25 as well.
Okay. Pranav, can you give us a couple of more details and statistics when it comes to the entire SME IPO space? How much or how active was it in the year gone by, and what is the pipeline?
Well, I think SME space, of course, the last couple of years, you've seen tremendous amount of activity in this space. 23-24, you saw close to 200 IPOs raising 6,000 crores. This is, at an all-time high. Even the previous year, you saw 125 IPOs. I think there might be a bit of a slowdown in this segment on account of, some signaling from the regulator in terms of how they are looking at this. We have to realize and we have to consider these companies slightly different from the main board segment. These are extremely small companies, and even at the time of IPO or post listing, you have to realize that the amounts being raised are very small. Even post listing, the trading volumes, the market cap is extremely small. So high amount of volatility. There is a possibility of manipulation, which of course does remain quite strong. Investors, I would always advise, should be extremely wary before, retail investors especially, should be extremely wary before investing in these companies.
All right. Which is the biggest one in which we know of in terms of fundraise and the brands that we're looking forward to? If you could give us some names in the very near future, the ones that are likely to come?
Well, I wouldn't hazard a guess. Till the time you don't see a company announcing the issue date, one really doesn't know. You've seen several times in the past as well. In fact, even in 23-24, despite there being relatively buoyant markets, you did see about 37 companies which were looking to raise 60,000 crores actually let their approval lapse. So you would think that getting the final SEBI approval is literally the last step before the company launches an IPO. But you look at the data for the last 10-15 years, and you find that there are several companies, whether it's a valuation mismatch or investors are not really interested in a particular sector for various reasons. You do see a lot of companies letting their approval lapse as well. So I won't hazard a guess, but I think there are some exciting companies, including companies from the new age technology sector as well, from electric vehicles, which are looking to make the IPO debuts this year.
Okay, all right. Well, Pranav, I'm sure we are going to touch base with you as the year progresses. Thanks very much for joining in and giving us all of those details and statistics when it comes to the IPO market. We'll take a short break. We'll get you more on the markets, a lot of stocks in focus, all that and more on the other side.